for the NRIs, they have done something good. Of course, the value of the asset has been fixed lower. That if by chance, unintentionally, you have forgotten to disclose certain asset, that 20% of our total collection, total budget size, is going towards the interest payments because our borrowings have increased somewhere or the other. Now, if you don't leave money in the hands of the middle class people, how does the consumption go up?
Where you say the budget for tomorrow, not for today, this means that not for the short term, it's a long-term budget, like long-term infrastructure or a strategic manufacturing or tech simplification?
Not much of infrastructure will be created. Not only infrastructure will be created, the employment will be created. There will be money in the hands of the people. The consumption will increase. One is the health and one is the education. In the global markets, basically, whatever have been geopolitical problems, whether created by US or any other country for that matter, and when we got the independence in 1947, our first budget size was 197 crores. You will be voting more on that basis rather than based upon the religion, caste or creed for that matter, or based upon the freebies that you get. One was this budget. As I said, on the budget day, the markets fell very sharply. There was a downside of almost 2,000 points in the Sensex. We all want to be Viksit, there's no doubt about it. But Viksit without healthcare, without education, and with all these kind of inequalities of income and wealth, will not happen.
Recently in India, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, she presented the Union Budget, which is called the Federal Budget 2026. We have Chartered Accountant Amarjit Chopra with us, who is an expert. So let's discuss about the main takeaways from this budget and what are the criticism in this budget. Chopra ji, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, Nitin ji.
What you will tell us about this budget, which is a Union Budget 2026? What are the main takeaways from this budget? How you review this budget? And we will also discuss about the criticism, or what are the main highlights which we can say in this budget which are being addressed?
Nitin ji, this is a boring which is not a big bang budget. Let's be very clear about it. It is not a budget which will make headlines under any circumstances, because we are all aware, and you are also well aware, that last year many things were done for the middle class people. So this year middle class were not expecting much. The beauty of any budget is that it must reflect the consistency in the policies and the continuity of the policies of the government. To me, this is one of the very significant features, that this budget definitely reflects continuity of the thought process of the government, continuity of the policies of the government with regard to the simplification of the tax laws. But at the same time, probably there can be certain concerns that the inflation is there already around 6.8%. Now, if you don't leave money in the hands of the middle class people, how does the consumption go up? And unless the money can only be provided through the, you can say, the budget, by reducing the taxes, etc., which has not happened, to be very frank. So, in one way, it is not an inflationary budget because it has not added anything to the duties. It has not increased anything. And it has not increased the taxes also. But at the same time, since it has not given anything by way of the reduction in the taxes, so probably the neutralization with regard to this inflation does not take place. That's one of the main takeaways that I personally feel. But the takeaway from me is that people may say it's a boring budget, but it's not a budget for today. It's a budget for tomorrow. There are many highlights in this which talks of the future, basically.
Okay, where you say the budget for tomorrow, not for today, this means that not for the short term, it's a long-term budget,
it's
like
a
long-term infrastructure or a strategic manufacturing or tech simplification?
Yeah. You see, the point is, there is a provision of capital outlay to the extent of about 12 lakh crores. Now, it's a very significant amount out of the total 53 lakh crores of the budget. If you outlay 12 lakh crores for the capex, I think, and if you can actually incur it, what is going to happen in the bargain is that lot much of infrastructure will be created. Not only infrastructure will be created, the employment will be created. There will be money in the hands of the people. The consumption will increase. So to that extent, I think it's a good budget from that angle. And there's a lot of emphasis on the skill development, which the government has been saying earlier also. And one of the main features is that wherever the data centers will be set up by the outside parties, and it is going to develop GCC business in the country like anything, if you really ask me. And that will create a lot of employment. And there they have extended the tax holiday benefit to 2047, giving a certainty that till 2047 you will continue to enjoy that tax benefit, which is indeed significant.
Chopra ji, since you are from the taxation line, and this budget also addressed the tax simplification, means Income Tax Act 2025, which will be effective with effect from 1st April 2026. So what are those sections which are being, means it has been reduced, the sections has been reduced in this budget from 819 section to 536.
I'm just interjecting in between. Let me say that this new Income Tax Act does not simplify the law. Let's be clear about it. Because what they have done is that they have renumbered the sections, because earlier there were clauses, sub-clauses, provisos. Those have gone away, basically. Rather, the new tax law may create more interpretational problems. That's what is going to happen. That's what is the talk in the market is all about. But the simplification has come in a different form, very frankly, if you ask me. That there have been certain provisions with regard to the filing of the returns, the reassessments, the prosecutions. There has been decriminalization in some of the things. And then the period for filing the returns, which was up to, you can say, December, has been extended till 31st of March for that particular matter. And in the case of the reassessment also, there are provisions which simplify the entire thing. And you can even file the revised returns with just about minimal penalties. So I think, or fines. So to that extent, it has actually helped in simplifying the things.
So what is the physical target set for financial year 2027 of the GDP?
I will not talk of GDP. What I will say is that what they say is that the economy should grow around 7% for that matter. And of course, one should be very clear, and I think you as a journalist know it far more than me. Given the circumstances today in the global markets, basically, whatever have been geopolitical problems, whether created by US or any other country for that matter, and whether the war between Russia and Ukraine, which has been going on, now the USA and Iran conflict, which has been going on, and whatever Trump has been saying to us with regard to the tariffs. Of course, now we have issued a joint statement. When it will be converted into a real deal, only the time will tell. I think India has been doing reasonably well in this particular period, even.
Okay.
And I think we have been the fastest growing economy in the world. There is no doubt about it. So to me, it seems that the fiscal deficit target, which is there at about 4.3%, will be maintained. They say that they might be able to achieve 4.2%. There are certain ifs and buts which we can discuss. There's no doubt about it. But what is important to be understood is that if they have been able to maintain this fiscal deficit at 4.3%, which they had budgeted last year, which is fairly good. We have to look at the budget from a different angle also. You see, when we got the independence in 1947, our first budget size was 197 crores. Believe it. And in 2014, when this government took over, the budget size was 18 lakh crores. In 10 years, this particular size of the budget has gone up by almost 3 times. Now it is 54 lakh crores, 53 lakh crores. So from 18 to 53 is a substantial jump, if you really ask me. Now, when that happens, there are bound to be certain constraints. There is no doubt about it. But the government has done well in collecting the taxes. The only thing that one feels here is that personal tax today, which is being collected, is more than the corporate taxes, which is, I think, which must worry the government. Or on the other side, it can be a factor that the government would say that we are leaving more money into the hands of the corporates so that they can flow back this money and it can be used for the development of the country. So that arguments can continue to be there.
So, is there any healthcare relief addressed in this budget?
No, healthcare relief said no, have not been given. Rather, this is, to my mind, there are two areas which I always feel have been missed out and which I have been talking on various forums also. One is the health and one is the education.
So, these are missing in this budget?
These are missing in the budget. Allocations are there, but these are pretty low. I think on the healthcare, you see, when I compare India with Canada or US or any other developed economy, the difference in India and there is that we might be collecting taxes. Our tax rates might be as comparable with Canada or with the US, or even if US or Canada might be charging a little bit of a higher tax, but then they provide social security. We don't have the social security. If there is an unemployment there and you continue to be unemployed for a particular period, you get unemployment allowance. Here we don't get any unemployment allowance. There the healthcare is absolutely free, though there are problems. I think who knows better than you the healthcare problems which are there.
That healthcare is a point of discussion because
point of discussion. But
yes.
The point is, even in India, if you go to the government hospitals, particularly, I think it is torturous for a common man to enter there and to get the treatment. So what we need, there are more doctors, we need more government hospitals, we need more equipment, we need more nurses there. That allocation is missing somewhere or the other. And to me, the other most important area is the education. I personally feel if you are talking of a Viksit Bharat, then education has to be your priority. There's no doubt in my mind. Education has to be your top priority. Because if you have the literate people who understand the basics, then they will be voting for the right candidates also. There's no doubt in my mind. At least I think that way. That if you are literate and you are well educated, you understand the politics, you understand the economics, you will be voting more on that basis rather than based upon the religion, caste, or creed for that matter, or based upon the freebies that you get. So, education to me is the basic thing, but unfortunately, the emphasis on that is missing. And another point which is missing is there's nobody is talking of family planning today in the budget. I think year after year have been saying that the emphasis of Indian government should be on family planning, or emphasis should be that if you produce more than this many children, then these facilities will be withdrawn from you somewhere or the other. Because our basic problem is not anything except for the population. Because whatever you may do, at the end of the day, you have more mouths to be fed, you have more hands to be provided work with, somewhere or the other. So I think the government must understand that.
So, Chopra, you well explained. You said the health, education, and family planning, these aspects were missing in this budget. And if those were addressed, those are the core issues. My question to you is like, what is the business, corporate, or a common man, means a middle class family's reaction on this budget on a wider aspect?
No, if you ask me, the middle class was made happy last year, and everyone knew that there are no elections forthcoming in this particular year. Next year there will be elections in Tamil Nadu and West Bengal. At that time, probably some care would be taken. So nobody was expecting, so far as middle class is concerned, nobody was expecting it. But I think the one thing where the middle class can feel happy is that no taxes have been increased also at the same time.
Okay, no
But
taxes increased. Okay.
no, but Nitin, the one thing is very clear that every time something comes, you say, ye dil mange more. Very frankly. So, ye dil mangta hi rahega jab tak hum hain.
So, did you think that this budget is balanced? Because you mentioned few things are missing, but overall, is this a balanced budget or not?
No. This budget balances between so many things. There's no doubt about it. You see, the criticism can always be there. There is no doubt about it. But there are good points. As I told you, it has a capital outlay. It has a very good outlay for the skill development. It has a very good outlay for the defense, for that matter. Very frankly, defense is the second largest allocation in this
Okay,
particular
how
budget.
much they allocated for
Yeah,
defense budget?
11 lakh crores. So I think if you and we should not lose sight of one fact, that 20% of our total collection, total budget size is going towards the interest payments because our borrowings have increased somewhere or the other. And 40% of our revenue collections are going towards the interest. So that's a dangerous sign. And I think the government is conscious about this fact. And that is why the government is trying to set the target for the disinvestment. Last year, the target for the disinvestment, to my mind, has not been met. It was only 23,000 crore which has taken place. Now the government has set this target at 80,000 crores, which to my mind is again a peanut. Because there are more than 300 PSUs today. There is a report today only where there is nothing happening. No, you have the land, you have the assets, you have the buildings available. Why shouldn't you dispose of that? And basically, if you dispose of, if you disinvest there, the government can make a lot of money there for that matter. And I think in the times to come, you will see that more and more of the disinvestment will take place, and it will the collections to the government will be used towards reducing the borrowings in that case.
So, what is the reaction of the corporate houses or the business people?
Corporate houses are happy to a very large extent because what has happened is that there were provisions with regard to buyback of the shares, which were pretty onerous last year. What was happening last year was when the provisions were amended, that if a company would buy back the share, the promoter will be taxed fully on the amount as that income, and the amount of cost of acquisition will be treated as a long-term loss, basically. And if at all you will make some kind of a capital loss, in that case, it will be offset in the subsequent periods. No, they have actually done away with that. They said that the difference between the cost of acquisition and the amount that you receive will only be taxed as a capital gain. And the capital gain in India is nominal for that matter, if you really ask me. And then the MAT has been reduced from 15% to 14%. But then in MAT, there is one catch basically. Earlier, you could make full use of the MAT, basically minimum alternative tax. But today, certain percentage of the MAT will have to flow out as the tax also. So they have tried to balance it out, but to that extent. But then the capital markets fell that day primarily because of the fact that STT has been increased. Now, the STT increasing is on derivatives transactions, and that has been done with a view that the speculation must reduce. Futures and options must not be the main item in the capital markets, but you know that capital markets actually bank upon the futures and options. But the government wanted the speculation to come down and retail investor to be protected against that. So from the retail investor point of view, it's a welcome sign. But from the capital markets point of view, it was not a welcome sign.
Chopra ji, you already mentioned that this budget, it marked a decisive shift from a short-term physical firefighting to a long-term nation building. So is it still dressed as a reformed budget?
It is a reformist budget. Definitely, it is a reformist. There is no doubt about it. You see, as I said to begin with, that what
So what are those signals which says it's a reform?
what this budget reflects is the continuity of the thought process. The government has been talking of the startups. The government has been talking about the simplification of the tax laws. The government has been talking about giving certain reliefs, and particularly to the semiconductor industry, they have given certain reliefs. To the manufacturing sector, they have given certain reliefs. To the agricultural sector, they have made certain allocations. So I think the main emphasis, whichever has been there in the earlier budget, that emphasis has continued. So I personally feel, as I said, what is a big bang budget? When the ordinary or a common person starts feeling, no, no, I have got something. The common man may not have got something in this budget. But what has happened in the bargain is that the economy will gain something in the times to come. And the results of it may be seen after 3 years or 4 years or after 5 years, but definitely the results will be coming.
Coming years will be for the artificial intelligence AI because technology is changing the world. So, is artificial intelligence investment and those kind of criteria has been addressed in this budget?
Honorable Finance Minister made a lot of mention about artificial intelligence in this budget. I won't say that about the allocation, but the government is definitely trying to develop the technology and protect the technology. We are more bothered about cyber security also today, very frankly, and the misuse of the artificial intelligence. I think to me, more worrisome at the end of the day is how to combat the misuse of the artificial intelligence. The way the artificial intelligence is being abused. You can have anyone's video created. Today, yeah, Trump speaking in Punjabi, you can see, and dancing with someone else, you can see. This is all being created through the artificial intelligence. The government is conscious about that fact. FM has actually mentioned a lot about the artificial intelligence. They are definitely giving importance to the technology. But to me, if you ask me, the more important will be that they should set up groups how to actually combat the misuse or abuse of the artificial intelligence.
Yes. So those laws needs to be implemented. We
Yeah,
have heard that India is working on bringing the laws for
yeah, yeah.
the AI or the chat GPT
No,
because
no,
there are
they
many.
have already, they
Already
are
you have
already
the
in the
laws?
process, already process in the process.
Okay.
No doubt
Okay. So
about it.
what is the confidence of investor now after this budget?
I will only talk on from three angles. One was this budget. As I said on the budget day, the markets fell very sharply. There was a downside of almost 2,000 points in the Sensex. But when the Euro deal happened, there was no reaction. Though, to my mind, Euro deal is a pretty good one from the long-term perspective, if you ask me, from Indian perspective. But when US deal happened, the confidence came, though we are still not clear about the US deal, very frankly, as to what are the good features or what are the negative features about it. People are talking about agri products, actually agricultural suffering as a consequence of that. Only the time will tell what is going to happen. But one good thing is that there is some kind of a, you can say, at least a positive atmosphere has been created. What we had been hearing for almost 6 months, the tariff is going to be 50%, the tariff is going to be 40% or 30%, that is gone. Now, at least they have made it very clear what is going to be the tariff. Now, the only fear that I have is if the targets which have been given to India for exports are lower than the imports, basically, which we are supposed to make from US, then our trade deficit will widen. And when the trade deficit widens, there are other consequences.
Okay. So is the US and India deal it's already finalized or what stage it is on?
Yeah, I'm given to understand, and whatever I hear from the market and whatever I read in the reports, it's only a joint statement still.
Okay. So this budget is called the Viksit Bharat Vision 2047 budget. So do you think that India's journey to Viksit Bharat addressed in this budget? If
Uh, Nitin, we all want to be Viksit, there's no doubt about it. But Viksit without healthcare, without education, and with all these kind of inequalities of income and wealth may not happen. I think that's not Vikas. Vikas is when you have a proper healthcare, when you have proper education, and when you have lesser inequalities of income and wealth. where the last person in the queue also is benefited by your budget. That's very important. If your policies keep on benefiting few people, you can't create Viksit Bharat. You may be able to create a Bharat in which the GDP has increased, but per capita income in the real sense should increase if it moves from $3,000 to $12,000 or $10,000 per person. I think that's very important in the
Okay.
times to come.
Chopra ji, here in Canada, our balance of books, every election that used to be issued, like we don't have balance of books and we have spending, and we are into debt. So what is the situation in India?
No,
Does
no,
this
in India,
budget,
that's not that way. Otherwise, your fiscal deficit will not
so
be
what is the
controlled.
fiscal deficit in India?
No, no, RBI will never allow you to keep on printing the currency. There is no way that it can happen.
So what is
No
the
way.
figure in fiscal deficit? Because here in Canada, we are into trillions of dollars of the deficit, which is balance
No,
of
I may
books.
not be able to give you an absolute figure, but when I say 4.3%, which is within the limits, very frankly.
Okay.
I
Okay.
may not be able to give you. I have given you the budget figure. 53 lakh crore is the total budget, very
Yeah.
frankly.
So, if you have to rate this budget out of 10, how will you rate out of 10?
You see, there are certain negatives also, which I will like to touch upon. In this budget, I have always believed that if people out of the earlier provisions of the laws have gone to the courts, have been able to get the verdicts in their favor, you should not tinker with that. If at all you have to tinker, you must tinker prospectively. Because those people actually made use of certain loopholes in the act only, in the Texas. Now, if people made use of that and they won in the courts, even up to the Supreme Court, in that case, you should not try to reverse those judgments retrospectively through the amendments in the laws. Retrospective effect. That has been done in some of the cases, very frankly. And then the Tiger Global case, which happened, which Supreme Court gave the verdict against, because that's against going to affect our FDI in some way, our investments into India in some way. I had thought that the government would nullify that judgment rather, in some way or the other, and will try to create investor confidence that you can invest in India without fearing. Because the people had believed, because the law at that particular point of time provided for that. But the government has not reversed that because there's a lot of revenue which is involved there. But then, as I said, in the tax matters like drawback, buyback provisions, etc., they have done well. And then for the NRIs, they have done something good. Of course, the value of the asset has been fixed lower. That if by chance, unintentionally, you have forgotten to disclose certain asset, then you can pay a certain penalty and can disclose it today. I think to that extent it is a better provision. So that relief has been provided.
So, for the NRIs, that's a good point you mentioned
That's a
because
good.
for NRIs, so they
Yeah.
can disclose their assets there in
But
India.
the value has been fixed at very low, very frankly, of the undisclosed assets.
Okay.
But then what happens, Nitin, is that if I am doing it unintentionally, then the value of asset would always be low.
Okay.
If I do intentionally, then the value of the asset will be higher.
So what are the takeaways for NRIs from this budget? If you can explain a point by point.
And NRI have been benefited. Suppose you are an NRI and you have forgotten to disclose your bank balance or some asset that you acquired somewhere or the other, and you have not disclosed it here. Then that particular case, they say, okay, come, disclose it, pay some penalty, and get rid of it.
Okay.
I think that's a much better thing to happen.
Okay. So, as I asked you, like, how will you rate this budget out of 10? How much numbers you will give?
About 6 to 7.
Okay, 6 to 7.
6 to
Okay. Chopra ji, thank you very much for all these inside outside details of Union Budget 2026. Before we let you go, we know who Amarjit Chopra is. You were a former president in the ICAI, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. But our viewers who might not know you, if you can give your a small introduction to our viewers.
No, I am Amarjit Chopra. Let me be saying that very clearly. Nitiji. I am a chartered accountant. I think, of course, I did my doctorate. At the age of 70, rather, I did my doctorate in NPA management. Banking has been of special interest to me somewhere or the other. And of course, I headed the institute, and then I headed the National Advisory Committee on Accounting Standards, and was to a very large extent responsible for bringing in IFRS equivalent standards in India. And then I'm on the boards of certain companies as well as one of the educational institutions like Management Development Institute, Gurgaon.
Okay. And you are also part of many committees in India across.
No, I have been part of the committees of the government earlier. These days, I'm relieved of that, very frankly. I was a part of the Corporate Laws Committee of the Institute of the Government. I was a part of the Investor Education and Protection Fund also, authority also. So, God has been kind. I only put it that way. Nothing. I these Nitinji, let me put it this way: that these positions come and go. These don't stay. What remains is your one qualification, and I will never be ex chartered accountant. I will continue to be a CA. I can be ex anything, but I will not be ex chartered accountant.
Of course. And one biggest takeaway from this budget before we take a leave.
Budget for tomorrow.
Okay. So
Budget for tomorrow.
means budget for tomorrow means we are India is on a right path, because if they are
India
addressing
is on the
tomorrow
right
means
path. India is on the right path. We are into the manufacturing of the. I think we are promoting manufacturing of the semiconductors. We are providing more emphasis on the manufacturing. Of course, Make in India has not been able to make that headway which it should have had. But I think let's wait for the future. The things are looking good. I will not say um, too good, but things are definitely looking brighter than what these were looking at one particular point of time. That's all I will like to say. Yes.
okay. Amarjit Chopra, thank you very much. We wish you all the best wishes, and
Thank you,
thanks
sir.
for all the insight outside of this budget.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.